Hello and welcome to GameGen. City building games are getting really interesting again, from cozy towns to absolute logistical nightmares. These are some upcoming city builders worth keeping an eye on. Tamer Town. Tamer Town is basically what happens when someone asks, what if Pokemon didn't battle, but paid rent and ran your economy? It blends cozy city building with monster collecting RPG mechanics, and the easiest way to describe it is Pokemon meets SimCity. What makes Tamer Town different from most monster taming games is that your creatures aren't just fighters, you actually build a community with them. The game features over 130 creatures called Mokiton, each with their own personality, elemental traits, and evolution paths. But instead of sitting in storage, Mokiton live in your town as full-on citizens. These creatures power your entire economy. You assign Mokiton to jobs based on what they're good at. Some are better at gathering resources, others can boost production, power buildings, or handle specialized tasks. Choosing the right Mokiton for the right job makes a huge difference on how smoothly your town runs. City management stays cozy but still meaningful. You design neighborhoods, manage resources, and set up workflows, while also keeping an eye on happiness. Happy Mokiton work more efficiently and help your town thrive. But if they're stressed or unhappy, things can get messy in surprisingly fun ways. Combat is also different. Instead of classic turn-based battles, Tamer Town uses a real-time turn fusion system that keeps fights fast and tactical without feeling overwhelming. Outside your town, there's plenty to explore. You can head into different biomes to find rare materials and recruit new Mokiton, then bring them back to expand your settlement. Drownlight. Drownlight immediately hits you with a strong, unsettling idea. The world is gone, completely swallowed by the ocean, and the last hope for humanity is a single lighthouse floating in the dark. It's often described as Frostpunk on water, and honestly, that comparison fits pretty well. Your entire settlement is built around the lighthouse, and everything revolves, literally, around it. Instead of expanding on a grid, your city grows outward in circular layers, forming a fragile floating colony. The lighthouse isn't just a centerpiece, it's your lifeline. It needs constant fuel and maintenance, and if the light ever fades, people start disappearing into the darkness. And whatever's out there starts getting closer. Resource management is tense and unforgiving. You'll be scavenging debris from the ocean, managing energy, and relying heavily on fishing to keep people fed. Weather plays a huge role as well. Violent storms can rip apart your floating structures, while long stretches of dead calm can slowly starve your colony of resources. Like Frostpunk, Drownlight thrives on moral pressure. You're constantly forced to make uncomfortable decisions. Who gets food, who gets saved, and how you respond to desperate survivors drifting toward your light. There's never a perfect answer, just consequences you have to deal with. While the surface is endless water, the depths hide ruins of the old world and ancient secrets that can help you survive. And throughout all of this, there's a constant sense of dread. The ocean isn't empty, it's watching. Transport Fever 3. With Transport Fever 3, the series leans more heavily into deeper tycoon mechanics and long-term management. Recently announced as the next entry in the Transport Fever series, it's coming in 2026 for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X/S, and it looks like a big step forward rather than just a small upgrade. Visually, the game is doing a lot more this time. There's a brand new subarctic biome with snowy mountains, frozen lakes, and muddy tundras, which already feels very different from the usual temperature or tropical maps. On top of that, Transport Fever 3 finally adds a full day-night cycle and dynamic weather. Trains rolling through rainstorms at night honestly just sound right for this series. On the gameplay side, infrastructure is getting deeper and more flexible. The vehicle roster is now over 250, including helicopters and cargo trams, which opens up new logistics options, especially in dense cities. Road building is far more freeform, with custom intersections, lane control, and pedestrian bridges, making urban traffic management more interesting. There's even offshore industry now, like oil rigs, making shipping routes important throughout the whole game. Where Transport Fever 3 really leans into the tycoon side is cargo and industry. Cities evolve over time, starting with simple needs and later demanding advanced goods like electronics or books. Delivery times actually matter now, affecting reputation, growth, and profits. You can even boost industries by transporting workers or special supplies. I'll be covering more games just like this one, so if that's your kind of thing, come hang out and subscribe. Citystate Metropolis. Citystate Metropolis feels like a love letter to classic deep city builders, especially if you miss the mindset of games like SimCity 4. One of the first things you'll notice is how much freedom the game gives you. There's no rigid grid forcing everything into neat squares. Instead, zoning is completely gridless, letting you draw natural, organic city shapes. Buildings can generate themselves, procedurally adapting to whatever strange or beautiful lots you design. Curved districts, awkward angles, realistic blocks, it all just works. You even get control over things like building height, setbacks, and parking, which makes the city feel genuinely handcrafted. Roads follow the same philosophy. They're spline-based, so instead of straight lines everywhere, you can build flowing avenues and messy urban sprawl that actually looks like a real city grew there over time. Under the hood, the simulation focuses on the big picture rather than tracking every single citizen. Instead of micromanaging individuals, you're more of a governor shaping policy. The game uses crowd-based simulation, allowing cities with over 1 million residents to run smoothly. Your choices around taxes, zoning, welfare, and deregulation directly shape the city's social and economic direction. Add in massive maps, up to 67 kilometers, and a terrain editor that creates realistic landscapes with rivers and elevation, and Citystate Metropolis feels less like a sandbox toy and more like a serious urban simulation for players who enjoy thinking long-term and watching complex systems collide. DarkSwitch. DarkSwitch is an upcoming survival city builder that immediately stands out because it doesn't let you build comfortably on flat ground. Instead, your entire civilization lives on the branches of a massive 200-meter tall tree, stacked vertically in a dark fantasy woodpunk world. And yes, it's just as stressful as it sounds, but in a good way. Space is always tight, so city planning feels more like survival Tetris than traditional city building. You're constantly building upward along the trunks and branches, connecting layers with stairways, elevators, and zip lines. Every expansion matters, and bad planning can quickly turn into logistical chaos. Surrounding the tree is a creeping fog called the Shroud. This isn't just atmosphere, it actively drives your citizens toward madness and hides unknown horrors within it. Light and fire become essential tools, not just for visibility, but for keeping people sane and keeping whatever's out there from getting too close. Resource management is deep and unforgiving. You're juggling 11 different resources while also managing morale, and the game isn't afraid to push you into morally uncomfortable decisions. If you enjoy the kind of tough choices found in games like Frostpunk, DarkSwitch is very much in that same mindset. To survive long-term, you'll send scout detachments out in airships, exploring the fog to uncover ruins, artifacts, and ancient knowledge. These expeditions are key to unlocking new technology tiers and preparing for the terrifying Dark Moon era. DarkSwitch is scheduled to release on March 12, 2026. Earth of Oryn. Earth of Oryn is an upcoming medieval kingdom builder that really leans into the idea of slow, meaningful leadership. Developed by solo creator Elevard and published by Stray Fawn Publishing, the team behind The Wandering Village, it blends city management with light real-time strategy and takes inspiration from classics like Banished, Age of Empires, and even Roller Coaster Tycoon and how much freedom it gives you. At its core, this is a game about building something that lasts, and living with the consequences. Instead of relying on fixed building blueprints, Earth of Oryn lets you construct structures brick by brick. You can use pre-made parts if you want, but the real fun comes from designing your own buildings from scratch, shaping your kingdom so it actually looks and feels personal. Leadership plays a huge role as well. You're not just placing buildings, you're shaping society. Your choices around laws, taxes, and religion directly affect happiness, loyalty, and whether your citizens stay peacefully or start rioting. The world itself is divided into distinct regions, each with its own identity. Cold mountainous Branford specializes in stone and gems, Barney focuses on farming and faith, while Hamker thrives in harsh canyons with metal and steel production. There are multiple ways to play, including a branching story campaign where your choices shape the fate of Oryn, and a creative mode that removes survival pressure entirely. Earth of Oryn enters early access on January 19th, 2026. Resilient. Resilient is an upcoming indie survival colony builder that mixes a grounded 1600s setting with a supernatural zombie threat, and that combination alone already makes it stand out. At a glance, the structure feels familiar. You build and expand during the day, then defend your settlement at night. But Resilient puts much more weight on social systems than pure combat. City building is completely freeform, so instead of rigid grids, you're shaping winding roads, fields, and housing naturally. The result looks like an actual 17th century village that grew over time, not a perfectly optimized layout. Where the game really gets interesting is its ideology and law systems. You're not just managing food and wood, you're managing beliefs. You can pass laws that are fair and balanced, or go fully authoritarian if survival demands it. These decisions directly affect productivity, morale, and whether your people quietly obey or openly rebel. Every colonist matters too. Survivors have individual traits and ideological learnings, and if your laws clash with their values, they might refuse to work, spread unrest, or become a long-term problem inside your settlement. It creates tension even when zombies aren't attacking. And those zombies, they don't stay predictable. Over time, the undead evolve into faster or tougher variants, forcing you to rethink defenses and upgrade your entire production chain just to keep up. Add exploration, scouting ruined towns for research and news, and you end up with a game that feels like Manor Lords meets Frostpunk, with zombie. Tropico 7. Tropico 7 is the next entry in the long-running tongue-in-cheek dictator simulator. And yes, you're once again stepping into the perfectly polished shoes of El Presidente. At its core, Tropico 7 is still about running a Caribbean island nation through different eras, juggling the economy, politics, and public opinion, all while quietly making sure your personal Swiss bank account is doing just fine. But this time, the tools you get are way more powerful. For the first time in the series, full terraforming is on the table. You can flatten mountains, carve out new beaches, or even raise fresh land from the ocean, which opens up a lot more freedom in how you design and expand your island. Politics are getting a bigger spotlight too. A new system called the Council lets you meet faction leaders face to face. You can charm them, manipulate them, or completely ignore their demands, but every decision does have consequences. There's also a recurring rival, Victoria Guerra, who acts as a nemesis throughout the campaign and keeps pressure on your rule. Under the hood, the simulation is deeper than before. Your laws and ethics now push you along a political alignment chart, unlocking different policies depending on whether you lean democratic, socialist, or authoritarian. Military control has also been reworked, giving you more direct command when dealing with rebels or foreign threats. Content-wise, Tropico 7 is going big. A multi-map campaign, tons of scenarios, the largest islands the series has ever seen, and more customization options for El Presidente in the palace. Frostpunk 1886. Frostpunk 1886 is an upcoming Unreal Engine 5 remake of the original Frostpunk from 2018, and it's shaping up to be way more than just a visual upgrade. Announced by 11-Bit Studios in April 2025, this project is being treated as a long-term platform for the series, designed to fix the technical limits of the original engine while keeping the emotional core that made the game so memorable. At its heart, Frostpunk 1886 is still about New London struggling to survive an endless volcanic winter. You're still making brutal choices, passing harsh laws, and trying to keep people alive when hope is constantly slipping away. But this remake adds a lot on top of that familiar foundation. There will be new laws, buildings, and events that didn't exist in the original, meaning even longtime players will have new decisions to wrestle with. One of the biggest additions is a brand new purpose path. In the original game, you had faith and order. Now there's a third ideological route, offering a completely new moral direction and a fresh way to shape society. That alone could dramatically change how the game feels on repeat playthroughs. Moving to Unreal Engine 5 also unlocks something the community has wanted for years: full mod support. Visually and emotionally, the focus returns to the intimate scale of the first game. Individual citizens are more detailed, with improved animations, lighting, and motion capture, making the city feel more human and fragile. Planetbase 2. Planetbase 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the 2015 cult classic space colony sim Planetbase, and it already looks like a much bigger, more ambitious project than the original. One of the biggest changes is the setting. Instead of fictional planet types, Planetbase 2 lets you colonize real locations in our solar system, starting with Mars. Later on, the Moon, Europa, and Titan are planned, each bringing their own environmental challenges. That alone gives the game a more grounded, hard sci-fi feel. Progression is also much more structured this time. Rather than relying on random blueprints from traders, there's now a proper tech tree with around 50 to 60 upgrades and patents to unlock. Similar to how research works in Dawn of Man, this makes long-term planning far more important. Colony logistics are getting a major upgrade too. You can build rovers, mining vehicles, and fuel tankers, and even lay down roads to speed up transport across the surface. Power management is deeper as well, with nuclear reactors and geothermal plants joining solar and wind. These systems come with their own risk, like fuel needs and radioactive waste. On the colonist side, you're no longer fully hands-on. While automation is still there, you can now directly select people, robots, or vehicles and give RTS-style commands. Colonists have a fitness stat and need gyms to stay healthy in low gravity. And there's a full waste management system where byproducts can be turned into fertilizer for crops. All Will Fall. All Will Fall is a post-apocalyptic survival city builder that takes one simple idea and fully commits to it. If you build badly, your city will literally collapse. It's currently aiming for a Q1 2026 release. The game is set in a Waterworld-style future where almost the entire planet is underwater. Land is rare, space is limited, and expanding outward just isn't an option. Instead, you're forced to build straight up, stacking your city higher and higher above the ocean. Unlike traditional city builders, buildings aren't static tiles, they're physical objects. Every structure needs proper supports, beams, and foundations, or gravity will do what it does best. This turns city building into something that feels a bit like high-stakes Jenga. You'll stack homes, factories, and resource buildings on top of each other, constantly checking whether your layout can actually hold its own weight. When something collapses, it's not just a visual setback. It can wipe out entire production chains and crush the people living below. On easier settings, you get a time reversal button to undo disasters, but on harder difficulties, mistakes are permanent and painful. Beyond construction, you're also managing a fragile society split into 3 groups: engineers, sailors, and workers. Each plays a crucial role, and keeping them all satisfied is just as important as keeping the buildings upright. Moral choices come up often, forcing you to decide between harsh survival measures or risking shortages to keep people happy. Beyond These Stars. Beyond These Stars answers a question that most city builders never ask. What if your entire city lived on the back of a giant space whale? Instead of settling on a planet or a flat map, you're building an entire civilization on the back of a massive, sentient space whale named Kiwa. It's a non-violent, cozy strategy game. At its core, the game uses a familiar hex-based city-building system, but the twist is that your land is very much alive. Kiwa has feelings, health, and needs of its own. If you pollute too much or push industrial growth too hard, the whale can get stressed or even sick. When that happens, Kiwa might fly through some dangerous space regions just to relieve itself, and that can seriously damage your carefully built cities. So yes, being a bad landlord here actually has consequences. Most of the gameplay revolves around balancing your people's needs with the well-being of your giant space companion. You'll terraform Kiwa's surface, dig canals, plant forests, and carefully plan production to create a stable ecosystem rather than strip mining everything. It's less about maximizing output and more about keeping things in harmony. Exploration plays a big role as well. Kiwa travels through a procedurally generated galaxy, choosing its own path at first. Over time, you can learn how to communicate with it and gently influence where it goes. When Kiwa stops near planets, you can send out rockets to establish small outposts, gathering rare resources and reconnecting with places once settled by your ancestors. Country of Fortune. Country of Fortune is a medieval strategy game that zooms the camera way out and asks you to think less like a mayor and more like a regional ruler. Developed by Nepos Games, this isn't about placing individual houses or tweaking street layouts. Instead, you're managing an entire country and shaping how multiple settlements grow, interact, and sometimes clash with each other. Rather than building a single city, you decide where villages and towns are founded and guide their long-term development. Each settlement can be specialized, meaning you choose whether a village focuses on farming, mining, trade, or other industries. That choice doesn't just affect income. It shapes the population, the local economy, and how that settlement evolves over time. A big part of the experience is managing the relationships within your country. Villages aren't just dots on a map. They have mayors with their own personalities, along with noble houses that compete for influence and power. As your country expands, cultures start to form naturally based on your decisions, and keeping everyone aligned becomes a political challenge of its own. Logistics play a huge role as well. You'll be moving goods across large regions, planning trade routes, and taking advantage of natural features like rivers to connect distant settlements efficiently. Poor planning can leave villages isolated or struggling, while smart infrastructure can turn your country into a thriving economic network. Nova Roma. Nova Roma is basically about doing the most Roman thing possible, watching the empire fall, and immediately trying to build a better one somewhere else. Set around 324 AD, the game puts you in charge of a group of citizens leaving the chaos behind to found a brand new Rome in unfamiliar territory. If you've played Kingdoms and Castles, you'll feel right at home, but Nova Roma clearly aims to be deeper, messier, and much more simulation heavy. The game is planned to enter early access on January 22nd, 2026. One of the biggest standouts here, though, is the physics-based water system. Water isn't just a background resource. You actively design aqueducts, dams, and reservoirs, and water flows realistically through them. Smart planning can turn dry land into fertile farmland, but bad engineering can wipe out entire districts with sudden floods. It's the kind of system where you'll feel very clear, right up until everything goes wrong. Religion also plays a surprisingly big role. You'll be building temples and completing divine tasks to keep gods like Jupiter, Venus, and Mars happy. Do well, and you'll earn powerful bonuses. Ignore them, and you might be dealing with plagues or lightning strikes at the worst possible moment. On the social side, citizens don't magically upgrade. Instead, you manage layered needs, wine, bread, pottery, entertainment, and balance different social classes trying to survive in a crumbling world. Wild West Pioneers. Wild West Pioneers is a city builder that leans hard into the fantasy of starting from nothing and slowly turning a patch of wilderness into a living frontier. You're not just placing buildings and watching numbers grow, you're acting as a frontier architect during the westward expansion, trying to keep people alive, fed, and hopefully in a world that really doesn't care if your town succeeds or not. What makes Wild West Pioneers stand out is that it's not about a single town. You begin with a small encampment, but before long you're managing multiple settlements, scattered outposts, and the trade routes that connect them. Each location has its own role, and keeping resources flowing between them becomes just as important as building them in the first place. The settlers themselves are fully simulated individuals. Everyone has basic needs like food, water, and health, but also personal whims that affect overall happiness. A content population boosts your town's prosperity and attracts new immigrants, while unhappy settlers can slow everything down or leave entirely. You're also playing the role of a leader. Appointing mayors, sheriffs, and other officials isn't just cosmetic. Their traits can dramatically change how safe or efficient your settlements become. On top of that, the frontier is dangerous. Outlaws, wild animals, and harsh weather keeps survival tense, especially as the day-night cycle changes how your town operates. Often described as City Skylines meets the Wild West, the game offers a flexible sandbox. You can push for hardcore survival and tight logistics, or take a more relaxed approach and simply enjoy watching a frontier town come to life. Copa City. In Copa City, the hardest part of football isn't scoring goals. It's getting 50,000 fans to stadiums without causing a citywide disaster. Instead of managing tactics or controlling players, you're put in charge of everything around the match. You play as a city captain whose job is to make sure a massive football event actually works. Fans arrive on time, nobody riots, the stadium is ready, and the city doesn't collapse under the pressure. The game is developed by Triple Espresso and is set to release on March 26, 2026. Each event runs on a 14-day preparation cycle leading up to the match. During that time, you're managing entire city districts, setting up transport routes from airports and train stations, controlling crowd flow, and making sure tens of thousands of fans don't all try to enter the same gate at once. It's part city builder, part logistics puzzle, and part controlled chaos simulator. A big focus is fan management. You'll create fan zones with food, entertainment, and activities, but not all fans behave the same. Ultras are loud and intense, core supporters are passionate but manageable, and families just want a safe, fun experience. Keeping all three happy at the same time is tricky. Security is another huge responsibility. You'll place police units, separate rival fan groups, and respond to emergencies before things spiral out of control. Meanwhile, inside the stadium, you're handling pitch conditions, locker rooms, media zones, and overall readiness. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a comment below if any of these games caught your eye, or if there are other upcoming releases you'd like to hear about. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more gaming content in the future. Thanks for watching.